Alex, Jeff, Catherine not here, Jerry.
I'm here.
Yep. 8 members. Luther and Doug. Okay, so Catherine is out, Luther, Doug. And I think that is it for commissioners. I don't see anyone else. Okay. So we'll call to order the Town of Ashford Planning and Zoning Commission meeting at 7:02 p.m. on Tuesday, October 10th. Seeing as that I don't see Luther or Doug on, and they can speak up if for some reason I don't see them. We won't be sitting any alternates for Catherine, and we'll go with the 8 members that we have online. Going to the second item on the agenda, the approval of the minutes from the September 11th, 2023 meeting. Is there any discussion or corrections or issues with the minutes?
I'll move that we accept them. It's Janet.
Janet moves. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Jerry seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the minutes from September 11th, 2023, please say aye.
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 Those that are opposed, please nay. Abstentions?
Jeff, I'll abstain. I was not at last month's meeting.
Thank you, Jeff. And so moved. Minutes are approved. All right. Moving on to public comments, most specifically for items not listed on the agenda for further discussion. I do have hands up here, so we'll go with Margie Roy, listed first.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Margie Roy. I live at 221 Old Town Road here in Ashford. 2 months ago, I asked some questions about the PZC public hearing notifications. Mike has sent me a written response, but he didn't answer my question. I'll ask it again tonight. I know that state statutes require PZC legal notices to be published 2 times within a defined time limit before a public hearing. I know this can only be achieved by notices in the Willimantic Chronicle. That meets the letter of the law, but it doesn't meet the needs of the citizens of Ashford. Distribution of the Chronicle in Ashford is extremely low. Many of you have emphasized the desire for the PZC to be transparent. My question is, can't these notices be published 2 times in the Chronicle plus 1 time in the Ashford Citizen? This would meet the requirement of the state statute, but it would also meet the needs of the citizens of Ashford and the PZC's goals of transparency. And as a continuing comment, the state statute is out of date, given the changing nature of communications. I suggest that one of the actions on the upcoming POCD be to ask our state legislators to work on updating this statute to allow for digital communications and notices through email services. Please start using the Ashford Citizen to increase your transparency with the citizens of Ashford. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Margie. Appreciate the input. I will, normally we don't comment on the comments made, but I will just say this. With the Ashford Citizen, I agree with you. We need a better way of informing our citizenry of what's out there. And I'm thinking that the website and updates to the website will be much more effective. The problem with the Ashford Citizen is that we have to have our information for the next meeting. In this case, we would have to have it in by this Friday after having this meeting in order to meet the requirements for publication for the November 1st issue. That would leave approximately 3.5 weeks before our next meeting. And what would not be captured would be applications for any of our requirements for a public hearing, and what would be on the docket, what would be on the schedule. A lot of that information would be missed in trying to meet that one time per month with a 2-week prior to the publication requirement. It just doesn't meet it. I don't think it would update you in the way you want to be updated. So I think it's better for us to try and look at, as you mentioned secondarily in your comments, a digital method that we can update, potentially putting out a draft that is subject to change, which could include taking something off of it because the applicant is not ready, to adding, as we allow our citizens to do, to give us an application well up to that Wednesday before the meeting in order to get things moving along for them. So I do understand that, and Mike and I were talking about this before, Mike D'Amato, obviously, about actually, so there's legislation with the going into the Supreme Court of the state to look at the requirements when it comes to publication. There are towns that have absolutely don't even have an Ashford citizen to put it in, nor do they have any circulation registered for a publication. And what do? Does every single one of their postings then not meet the needs of the state statutes, as you said? So, and they're always out of compliance that way when it comes to a hearing or something like that. So there are methodologies, or there are efforts being put forth to try and get things updated when it comes to how planning and zoning publications and warnings are produced for the public. But I thank you for your input, and we will be looking at more of maybe a digital solution.
Thank you. I greatly appreciate that.
Erwin Krieger, you're up next. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Erwin Krieger, 115 Lakeview Drive. And my question is about short-term rental policy. And I'm wondering, what would the commission's actions be if you received complaints from neighbors about a property, an owner being in violation of the town's short-term rental regulations?
And short-term rental. Okay, to your direct question, any actual complaints received by the land use office and the ZEO would be recorded, and are obviously, being very straightforward with you, our main issue right now is enforcement, and we don't have multiple people to sit and look at enforcement. We would take in those complaints, and when it came time for the applicant to re-register for such a permit, those complaints would be referenced and would be reviewed by the commission.
And what about people renting who don't have a permit? Or if a permit expired and somebody continued to rent and you received notice of that. When you say they're registered, I don't know what that means. I thought they would come up in like correspondence in the meeting, but apparently not.
I'm sorry, say that again. I interrupted you.
I thought they would come up in, if somebody notified the board, that it would come up in the correspondence part of the meeting and be discussed, but that does not. I haven't submitted anything, but my understanding is things have been submitted. So when you say they'd be registered or recorded, where is that recorded?
They'd be recorded with the land use. The complaints should come through the land use office and the ZEO at that point. It's really not the purview of the commission until it comes time for a review for a permit or permitting, special permit, anything like that. That's really the function of the board, and obviously making and dealing with the regulations and such.
So the commission isn't wouldn't be enforcing
We're
the permit.
not an enforcement group. We're a
Okay.
legislative
So if
group.
there
that's,
is anybody that could do that, it would be the land use office and the CEO.
Correct.
Okay. Answers my question.
Likely working in conjunction with our legal attorney, our legal counsel.
Mhm. Okay, so the communications with the commission would just be about an initial application or renewal.
Correct.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Jeff, I have a public comment.
Yes,
This is
Nord.
I recently found out that one of the citizens that we've been interacting with a great deal as a commission, Brian Griffiths, has sold his house and he moved to Maryland.
Yes, we're aware. Many of us are aware of that.
All right.
Thank you, Nord. Okay, seeing no other. Oh, Doug, thank you for joining.
Doug is here, yes.
Let's see. And I don't see Luther here. So Doug, I'd like to seat you for Catherine Sampson.
That's fine, Jeff. Yeah, sorry, I was late.
problem.
I'm juggling multiple things over here. I got in about 5 or 7 after 7.
No problem. Darn us for starting almost on time. Very good. You have that, Valerie?
Yes,
At
yes.
7:13. Thank you. Okay, seeing no other public comment, we will move on to bills. Alex, any bills to discuss?
I don't have any right now.
Nothing received. Thank you very much. Going on to correspondence. I have a few things here under correspondence beyond the commissioner training opportunities, but I'll start with that. The training rules for the commission that came out as of January 1st, 2023 are 4 hours or 4 credits of training. And at the time it came out as a per annual training. However, as of October 1, and again, I don't know all this, Mike was filling me in on this, so kudos to him. As of October 1, that requirement has changed to basically 4 hours of training per term for anything, I'm trying to think how it goes, anything less than 4 years. Actually, I'll share my screen with some of the notes I have here. We go down, here we go, training for certain land use officials. The existing law was on an annual basis, and the requirement is now to complete training once every 4 years or once per term. So the fact that our terms run 2 years for our alternates and 6 years for our regular members, that's just that requirement. So we fall within, if you're trained, you're good for 6 years as a member. If you're trained, you're good for your full 2 years as a alternate. The current status of our training, many members have gone through the training, and there are a few members who have not. Those members need to go through their training prior to January 1st of 2024. Because in March, we have to send out a report to the state telling them that we are compliant or not compliant with the training requirements. The issue with not being compliant with the training requirements, and I'll give you the example again that Mike gave me, which is very handy, is that it opens us up to the possibility of an appeal of a decision if our members have not met the required training of the state, such as if we were going through a text amendment change that was being considered and it was it was not passed by the commission, and the applicant was then dissatisfied. They had the potential for an appeal if all the members are not trained as per the Connecticut state statute. So what I have here, and I will send this to everyone so you have some of this information. The number 2 item is the website for the Yukon training that most of us, or many of us, I should say, went through in February. and or followed up on it. It is online. It's not even virtual. It's just an online training you can use it's 4.5 hours. There's these 3 sections here that you see on number 3, bias, predisposition, and conflicts.
We're not seeing your screen, Jeff.
It didn't share? Why
No.
didn't- Okay, so let's try this again. I'll go down here. Because I didn't hit screen. I am very sorry. I wish someone had spoke up a little sooner. And here we go. There we go. So, everyone, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. Okay, so again, this website is used from the Clear out of Yukon Education. And what it does is it offers you these pre-recorded bias, predisposition, and conflicts, running a meeting and making a decision, and the fair and affordable housing. These are each 1.5 hours. It gives you 4.5 hours, which meets the requirement. It is all online. You can do it at your leisure. There is another training that is coming up. If you like live training or virtual training, there is training coming up on October 28th that Mike had sent out as part of the meeting materials. And that's, I believe, I'm trying to think where it's down to. I think it's down in the Hamden area or something like that. So, but this meets the requirements and it's easy enough to do. You can do it in the any quiet area of your home or wherever the kids are, anything like that. But please, if you don't know whether you've taken this training or not, please reach out to Alex and ask him if you're on the list. I'm not going to call anybody out here, but we do need to get those members that are going to be remaining on the board come November 7th or whatever, the election November 7th, to get this training done before January 1st of 2024.
Yeah, Jeff, this is Dick. I went back and looked at the email that I had sent Alex.
Yep.
And I took all of the courses that he had directed me to. I just want to make sure that that you never responded back to that, Alex. So am I on the list as being all set?
You are all set, Richard.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so again, if anyone has any question, please reach out to Alex. And again, I will send this out to you so you have the website as well as what classes you'll be looking for. It gets a little confusing in there, but you'll see them and it's just clicking on the link and it'll start the session for you. Again, very, very important to get everyone trained on this. New members that potentially will be joining us after the election have during their first year of their term to get it done. But ideally, we'll try and get them up and running also as quickly as we can. So maybe we can report to the state March 1st that all members are trained, have the required training of the state statute. Any further questions on education? Okay. Also regarding correspondence on here, I'm going to stop sharing. Well, no, I'm going to go to something else. No, maybe I'm not. Okay. Also under correspondence, we did receive material from Margie Roy, who spoke to us earlier. Regarding POCD development, as well as the requirements or considerations for the interstate interchange zone. All materials have been provided under the meeting materials to all of the members for review. I believe the POCD from Salem that was included in there is about 104 pages, as well as the material and the links from the group that Margie Roy had indicated in her email, Keep Ashford Rural. So again, just some considerations. Thank you, Margie, for the material, and it'll be reviewed. And for our next POCD discussion, I'm sure we'll be accessing that. Couple of other things regarding correspondence. Submission of commission members for agenda. If someone from the commission, and I just wanted to bring this up so it's clear, if commission members feel they need to submit comments or material for discussion on a agenda item, that should be submitted to the CEO by the close of business on Wednesday before the Monday meeting, or in this case, a Tuesday meeting because of the holiday. But again, that Wednesday before, that'll allow for time of review of the content and placement on the website for meeting materials in order for the members to review beforehand and make it an effective discussion on those comments. So again, please, the Wednesday before, at least the Wednesday before. If you want to do it earlier, that's fine. For members of the public that are trying to submit material or comments, those need to go to the land use office also, / the CEO, by the same Wednesday close of business prior to the Monday meeting date. They should not be submitted to individual members of the commission. Okay, if one of the members does receive this, I urge you to send it quickly to the CEO for posting to the meeting materials for the upcoming meeting. But the public should not be sending individual members of the commission material due to the potential of bias or influence, as well as a lack of transparency on the commission's activities. So again, please, if you do receive something, send it to the CEO immediately. And I ask the public, those that are in attendance, if you are submitting something, please go through the land use office, not the individual members of the committee. Again, it just makes it clearer, more transparent, and there is no perception of bias or influence to the members for material that hasn't been shared with the entire committee. And that was it on correspondence. Moving along, no, there is no public hearing. If you know how to hit that little clap indicator, like raise your hand, please feel free. There is no public hearing tonight. We'll move on to unfinished business. And under unfinished business is the 154 Westford Hill and the compliance statement. What I'd like to do is to share my screen again. And I'll actually share it this time. Hopefully. Oops. Okay, and now I need to go to, I'm not quite as facile as Mike is on this. Actually, let me stop sharing and let me get to what I need to get to. Bear with me a moment. And we're going to the one I want. Nope, wrong one. And again, wrong one. And let's see. What am I looking for here? I am looking for that from Michael. Nope. Come. Now I will share my screen on this. Where'd everybody go? All I see is Jerry. Here we go. Okay, share screen. And there we go. Okay, so We did do an inspection on the Love property, 154 Westford Hill Road, on September 26th, in response to the final deadline indicated within the stipulated agreement between Ashford Planning and Zoning Commission and the property owner. The town performed a site inspection of 154. Purpose of the inspection was to determine the current status of the property with regard to compliance. Specifically, it was determined how much of the existing stockpile had been removed following their visit on June 6th. Here are some photos. Everyone does have this under the meeting materials if you haven't accessed it. It was apparent from the site inspection that approximately half, about 500 to 600 cubic yards of the material stockpile had been removed from the June 6th inspection. In addition, the majority of the site had been graded, with approximately 50% of the open portions of the site containing established ground cover. While on the property, we reviewed the terms of the agreement, and this is again a memo to Mr. Love. So he was informed of now that the specific deadlines when the agreement have expired. Any other activity occurring on the property will be subject to zoning regulations. Specifically, we discussed that removal of more than 100 cubic yards of material from any parcel in town requires a special permit in accordance with section 300-32. These requirements are important to note as they govern how the remaining portion of the material stockpile is to be handled moving forward. So it's been the case since the start of this action. The goal of the town is compliance, with crushing and grading activities stopped and a substantial portion of the site being finished graded with ground cover establishment. The only outstanding item remains is the 500 plus cubic yards of material still being stockpiled on the property. Again, they do have the ability to move up to 100 cubic yards. So the 500 to 600, it's about 500 cubic yards, as mentioned above. Zoning regs do not provide a mechanism for such a significant amount of material to be removed from a single property without the issuance of a special permit. In addition, after October 1st, 2023, these activities are no longer covered by the stipulated agreement we were working with. Given that the town continues to support total compliance on the property and shares the understanding that complete removal is in the best interest of both parties, the following outlines specific criteria that the town would expect to be complied with on an ongoing basis to maintain that compliance. After the October 1st, any removal of materials from the site and or the existing material stockpile shall be in a quantity of not more than 100 cubic yards within any 7-day period. Removal of material in excess of 100 cubic yards within any 7-day period must be reviewed prior to such activity occurring to ensure compliance with 300-32. In talking with Mr. Love, he was in agreement that if he gets some contract or he gets some ability to move this product in a scale larger than 100 cubic yards, he will be in contact with the zoning office. And the zoning office will review what's being done, when, and how before such activity would take place. They would need to meet any of the requirements of number 2. Any vehicle, truck, queuing, loading, preparing, or removal of material from the property will not commence prior to 8 a.m. or continue beyond 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. There will be no vehicle, truck, queuing, loading, preparing, or removal of material on Saturdays, Sundays, or federal holidays. The standards above have been prepared to demonstrate the town's willingness to continue to encourage compliance. However, enforcement is a wonderful thing. However, it's important to note that the Planning and Zoning Commission has authorized, or actually that's what I'm looking for here. I'll be looking for a motion to authorize the ZEO with the Commission's counsel to initiate further legal action on behalf of the town should any actions associated with the subject of this litigation, the stipulated agreement, and or the removal of material from the property be verified by the town to conflict with the items specified above or the zoning regulations. So basically, we gave him a little bit of rope to work through the last 500 cubic yards of material that he has. However, it needs to meet these stipulations, and if it doesn't meet these stipulations, there will be further legal enforcement as per the ZEO and our legal counsel. The last item on here is it was noted that while the town has conducted several site inspections of the property, the subject of these visits has been to document and review for compliance associated with matters associated with the pending court action only. Specifically, other activities being conducted on the property, including the operation of a commercial business, was not reviewed for compliance or lack thereof. As such, you should not interpret any lack of action by the commission as acknowledgement that any activities occurring on your property are compliant with section 300-17 of the zoning regs, which requires planning and zoning commission approval for all home occupation and rural businesses. This is a warning letter, if you will, that we will be looking at this, and that the fact that we haven't taken action because we were dealing with the other is not offering compliance on our part. So, to that end, are there any questions about the activities here? That's an awful quiet group. I appreciate, I'm sorry, someone had something?
Yeah, I was just trying to answer your question, Jeff.
Yes, Doug.
I'm processing what you just read. I think it makes sense.
The question in general, I'm trying to think how many cubic yards one large dump truck would hold. It seemed to recall it's more like 15 to 18 cubic yards or something like that. Is that
Usually it's 16, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's typical for triaxle, and maybe a little bit less than that for soil, depending upon the weight.
so? 100 cubic yards would be quite a few truckloads.
Well, in this case, it would be about 6.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we haven't had any more comments from the neighbors.
Well, as stated by Nord, the most vociferous complainant has moved away. He has sold his house and he has moved from that site.
Oh.
So there really hasn't been any other complaints from any other of the surrounding neighbors, except for previously from the Griffiths.
Yeah.
However, we do want to get this to come to an end and not set a precedent. We're just trying to work through the current standards or the current restrictions as they were laid out previously in order to get the last of this pile moved. The good thing is that we have the new requirements when it comes to an excavation exemption in our regs, both the review from the Ag Commission for agricultural activity, as well as those requirements more than just, wanting to move a pile and giving kind of a carte blanche ability to do that, as was the way the regulation was 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah, and I'm pretty familiar with the change in the regulation since I wrote it.
Yeah, this comes down to compliance, as Mike noted in the memo. And while Mr. Griffiths has moved out of town, we still should do diligence and follow through with compliance.
Right. Right. And we will be monitoring this on a regular basis. While Mike can't sit in the driveway every day and make sure the activity takes place is appropriate, we're hoping this movement and these requirements, again, these are ones that Mr. Love was willing to accept as the material gets moved. Our intent is not to give him, again, a carte blanche to try and get rid of this over the next year to 6 months. We're hoping that it takes a shorter time than that. And Mike will be looking at this along with the other issue on there regarding the home business. So we will be in contact and be looking at this and the movement of it. But we're hoping to hear from this. He wants to get this off his property as much as we do. And I think he was genuine in his efforts to try and move it. The only activity going on, again, is trucks coming in and the loading of the excavator into the truck and moving it out. And again, any large job that comes on that's going to require multiple trucks taking place over a certain amount of time, again, over a 7-day period, will fall under our jurisdiction to make sure that they're compliant and we'll be able to review such activity as well as monitor what's going on.
And Jeff, his home business is the foundation replacement for the crumbling foundations. Because
That is correct.
he had quite a bit of materials that was stockpiled last time I recall going up there.
Yeah, it was more like 1,200 was the report we got in June. So over half of that got moved out from June, July, August, into the end of September. So we're hoping the last of this last 500 will be moved quickly. And again, part of it's going to fall to weather at the end of the year into December and all like that to get it moved and get that material. We did ask about, can it be spread out anywhere on his property, and everything else has been pretty much leveled out. And we think that, again, working toward compliance and working toward the best solution for both sides on this was get this taken care of and then call it a day, and we can work off of the regs that we've put in place. So to that end, if I could get,
sorry, Jeff, I got one more question.
Sure, Doug.
Has Attorney Slater seen this memo? Is he aligned with what's
Absolutely.
in this?
Absolutely. He's the one who gave us the recommendations on this when it came to whether we have the full enforcement capability, or we just want to have this come to a acceptable end for both sides on this. And he was in full agreement with our option here of monitoring this and getting it done in the shortest time possible.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Jerry.
I'll make that motion that you asked for.
Okay, so what we'll do is, the motion that we're looking to make here really is that authorizing Planning and Zoning Commission will authorize the zoning enforcement officer to work with the P&Z Council to initiate any further legal action on behalf of the town should any actions associated with the subject of this conflict with the specified zoning regulations. And we'll write that up for you, Valerie, if in order to have that captured appropriately, or Mike will be able to offer something to you on that when he's available. So Jerry has made a motion. Is there a second on that motion?
I'll second, Alex.
Alex seconds it. Okay. All those in favor, and what I will do now is I will stop sharing in order to see everyone. As long as it's clear, we'll see what happens. All those in favor of the motion to authorize the CEO with our council to monitor and restrict this activity, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? Abstentions? So moved. Thank you. Okay, moving on to new business. And 8A is the required amendments pertaining to Public Act 23-142. Again, this material is available. Let's see if I can find this staff memo. There we go. This material is available in the meeting material. And what it effectively does is it identifies some clarification. Again, the Public Act itself, I'll just read it quickly, requires that all municipalities certify to the state, and let me share this with you since I'm probably not doing that right now, which is better than looking at the top of my head as I read. Share screen. Man, that takes a while. Whoops, there we go. Okay, so requires that all municipalities certify to the state that their zoning regulations do not treat any family child care home or group child care home located in a residence and licensed by the Office of Early Childhood pursuant to Chapter 368A in a manner different from a single or multifamily dwellings. This means they need to be allowed by right without the requirement that a commission level permit be obtained. a public hearing cannot be held. And then it defines the following of a family childcare home and a group childcare home. So the regulations excerpts below are the various sections of the regulations which currently refer to childcare in some way. Proposed edits to bring the regulations into compliance with the Public Act have been provided. And those are shown in red. I'm going to page down to that. So what we have is an addition to the permitted uses, which are family child care home or group child care home as defined by Connecticut General Statute 19A-77, which is licensed and complies with the standards set forth by the Connecticut Office of Early Childhood. And in Mike's comments here on the side, you can see this language is proposed to be included as a new accessory use in the RA zone. By including this as an allowable accessory use, it still requires the primary use of the property to be a dwelling unit. So this accessory, and again, under 6, accessory structures and uses, number 6 is what this is under. However, under special permitted uses, a group in child daycare centers, not homes, but as a primary use as a care center for 12 or more persons. And this language is intended to clarify that if you'd like to operate a daycare as a primary use or care for more than 12 persons, you would still be required to obtain a special permit. Under Mike's review, this was the less obtrusive, easiest way to adjust our regs to meet the state statute. And again, for this public act, we have to report back, our selectman office has to report back to the state by December that we are compliant with this change or this requirement of the family and group care, child care homes. Very poorly said and put together on my part, but I think Mike did a nice job. Any questions or concerns regarding this change?
Seems pretty straightforward to me.
Okay. All right, so we will need to do our usual submission to NECOG and CROG and all surrounding areas, as well as have a hearing on this in November in order to have that approved and then be able to put in place in December and report back to the state in a proper amount of time by the selectman's office. So to that end, I guess, can I get a motion to approve this text amendment language so we can move forward with a public hearing?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second, Janet.
So Richard, motion, Janet second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Abstentions? So moved. Thank you. Okay, the last item under new business is the IID moratorium. And Mike and I have been going over a number of things regarding this. And let's see if I can find where that is. Here we go. So these are just some notes that I was putting down, and Mike put together kind of a schedule or timeline of what we could do. And again, this is an open discussion, so please, there's really no motion on this. It's just a kind of a framework for how we can move forward, possibly not having to extend the moratorium on the 2ID zone. So again, so to get us into compliance and finish off by May. So what we talked about, again, we went back and forth over whether it should be an open forum to all public, or if we could try to filter that down. I'm a little hesitant to offer it up to all the public at our meeting. It would kind of become, and giving everyone their say and opportunity, it'd be kind of a scattergun approach, if you ask me. What I'd like to suggest is that what I would do is I would generate a memo from the PZC sending it to the town commissions, boards, and advisory committees, asking them to invite the public to their October, there'll still be time in October for some of these meetings, and November meetings to gain input on what or how they want the I2D zone planning to be. So economic development would send out a invite as part of their agenda for people to come to their meeting and discuss what they think from an economic development standpoint should take place. Ag Commission would do the same. Conservation Commission would do the same. Our Town, Our Future, all of these folks would be doing the same to basically help us take all those potentially wonderful ideas from the public and put them into their stalls, if you will. Again, economics issues, economic development, conservation, agriculture, all of those issues, and allow us to then in November at our meeting, have a listening session and invite the commission discussion, inviting representatives from those town commissions to share the information, the information that they received, and potentially provide PZC with questions for a public survey that they've identified through the input they've received. And then it gets down into our December meeting. We review a rough framework and outline of any high-level changes regarding that, the regs for those zones. January meeting, a review of a rough draft that's red line of suggested revisions, changes that we've made, changes that are suggested, working with Tyche. Then our February meeting, we finalized the proposed revisions. We submitted to CROG and NECOG for review. And we also submitted to the boards and commissions from the listening session for comment. Did we capture what you were looking for on this before we just put it out and take it to public hearing and get it kind of edited on the fly? Then in our March meeting, we're able to take it to public hearing because most of the requirements or most of the input that we received has been dealt with at that point. So we take it to the public hearing on the proposed revisions in March, and then in our April meeting, if we need to continue the public hearing, or we finalize the revisions and we adopt. Now, anytime in here, if we feel we're not meeting these deadlines, we can always extend our moratorium should we need to do that in order to come to a concise and final decision on the 2ID zone. But this is a framework. I'm open to suggestions or concerns or further input on this. Again, this is Mike and myself just throwing some ideas around on how we can best start to gain both public comment as well as move forward in a organized fashion, and what goals and what objectives we need to hit and when we need to hit those. So I'm open to any discussion on here.
So Jeff, I think the thought is we solicit information from commissions going into the November meeting, and coming out of the November meeting, we issue a public survey requesting input to feed the December PZZ meeting.
It would probably be, I'm wondering if that would give us enough time, but that's something we would have to look at from our time frame. I mean, if we had something after our November meeting where we could put together a survey, Mike could put something together. It'd be good to give people enough time. I think December, January, we could take some preliminary information from that survey. And then if we kept it open for a couple more weeks and got, see if we're getting in any viable, any helpful input that we can use for our rough draft red line of suggestions and such. It doesn't have to be, a clamp down, stop it. We can't take any more information from you when it comes to the surveys, but I do want to give people time enough to respond to it, but we can't let it drag out is the thing. But yes, you're pretty much correct.
We got to give a date because we don't want to spend 6 months getting survey results.
Right. It's that chicken or the egg. I mean, you want to have enough time for them to respond and have us work for and have meet our timelines, but we also want to get enough responses that it makes it effective.
Yeah, I like that approach as opposed to just a blanket open question to every single member of the public.
Yeah, I think, thank you.
Because we did get a tremendous amount of input already earlier this year. And that came from the public.
Right, right.
Yeah, Jeff, nowhere in this do you mention who's going to do the writing of this. Is that going to be Mike and his group?
We're gonna be working with Tyke on this. Yes, correct.
Okay. This is, to say the least, somewhat different from the way we've uh, done regulations in the past.
Well, and again, I think the regulations we've written in the past were so dry, no one cared. This has caused a lot of public outcry, a lot of public response. And we've been asked to include the public on this, whereas in the past, when it came to, many of the regs that were rewritten, such as, the ones you worked on with the RA zones and things like this, I mean, there were a lot of crickets at our hearings for these, whereas I don't think we're going to see crickets for the I2D zone.
Well, I'll simply say that this rewrite of this should also reflect what's in the current POCD, which identifies this area as a major area for development. If we want to turn this into a park, and everyone likes that idea, so be it. But it's one of the few areas we have in town. This and
Well,
the wagon shed property, to develop for a tax base for the town. So
Well, honestly, that's coming from an economic development standpoint, Richard. It really is. I mean, that's the issue we're dealing with right now. And when you look at the POCD, it actually does both. It has a large input when it comes to agricultural development and the agricultural influence, as well as its need to be economic development. You want a plan that allows you to move forward, that doesn't scuttle you in one way or the other, but you also can't take bites out of both sides of the apple. I mean, you really need to have some middle of the road in order to make this happen when it comes to the input from the public on what needs to happen with this territory. No one cared about it before. Everyone cares about it now, and we need to address that.
yeah, and again, I headed up the group that wrote the POCD, and that was not just from an EDC viewpoint. It was with all, agricultural, conservation, everyone involved.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But what I'm saying is that when you read over it, someone can take the bent that, oh, the POCD limits it from an agricultural standpoint. Oh, the POCD limits it from an economic development standpoint. I think we need to know, the overlying question is, what do you want to see as a town? What do you want to see in this area?
Yeah.
And,
Okay.
what is allowable?
Okay, I've made my point. I won't belabor it, but the regulations should follow what's in the POCD.
I think, Mr. Chair, I was going
Yes,
to,
Janet.
say, I think the survey is a great idea that allows more people to get involved than came to, even though we had 300 at our meetings. It allows a broader range of views, and maybe some people who didn't want to or couldn't come to our meetings would be willing to fill out a survey. Also, I think in response to Dick's comments, we're in the process of working on a new POCD, and I think while we need to respect what's in the current one, our new POCD should reflect how people feel now. So the results of the survey, I think, are very important for us in looking forward to what we should do with this property. And for rewriting the whole POCD, we need to listen to what people think now. And that's all I'm going to say.
Janet. Any other comments from the commission? Okay, so again, take the time to review that timeline, that time frame. Again, we're not going to have everything be drop dead, but we will garner as many responses as we can get. I mean, the big thing is going to be buy-in from the commissions. And again, I think they recognize the importance of this area, this regulation, and what needs to go on for the viability of the town, for the viability of moving forward, as to what this town wants in there, what the people in the town want in there, and how we can make that happen moving forward. Both empowering economic development as well as maintaining the rural character, maintaining the rural nature, and also protecting any of the water sources and wildlife and such in there. So again, it's not going to be easy, but if we get people's buy-in and they're part of the process, whatever we result with, it will be either not just from the majority, but the ability of us to make it Ashford's decision, not so much just the planning and zoning's decision.
And I'd like to thank you for working up the timeline. I know that I'm sure took a lot of
Again, it was mostly Mike. I just made a few adjustments to it with the question about whether we go, as Doug put it, questions out to the 4,200 and whatever people of Ashford, or we kind of filter it down to the specific items that, kind of the areas that are important in the POCD also when it comes to its effectiveness and what to do in that zone.
So Jeff, with the survey, how would that be sent out? Would that be a mailer to everybody's mailbox? Like, what's the mechanism for that?
We would likely do the Ashford Citizen as well as online access to it. That would probably be the best methodology for us as opposed to a mailer. And again, it'll depend on the number of questions that we have that we feel are effective and what we can use. I mean, if it's a 10 question, then that's pretty easy. If it's something more involved, then I think the digital methodology will be best. I know there are a number of good questions in the POCD from Salem also when it comes to the importance of the rural character versus economic development and what they want to see. And again, they're trying to deal with that balance also. So it's a nice reference that Margie had provided for us to at least look at. There are other towns out there we can take a look at too, and we'll be doing that.
So the citizen would provide some web address to go to the survey electronically.
I think we could put the web address in there or the electronic address to it or scan or whatever, but also we could put, again, depending on the size of it, we could potentially put the questions right in there and someone could just submit it, written format also.
Yeah. What I'm fishing for is I'm just thinking of the population in town that doesn't have access to the digital information. Certainly They get the citizen in the mailbox, so they're gonna see that.
Right. And
they could
there won't be a fax number. That will be the only thing. We won't have a fax number there, I promise. Yes, Janet.
they could probably return it in the box, the black box at the town hall.
Right.
Office building as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's provided that all the questions are in the citizen. I guess we need to your point, Jeff, we need to see what we come up with.
Right. And again, if it is something that's much more involved like that,
Ridiculous.
maybe it will be a mailer. We'll have to come up with we'll have to ask for the funds in order to do that.
Yes, either that or if you keep it electronically, we got to provide access in the town hall for folks to come to fill it out.
Mm-hmm.
That's another option.
Well, we just recently did a similar survey relative to the I can't think of the right term, but
It's affordable. Is it the affordable housing survey?
Yeah. So I think you just use the format that was done with that, and there's no sense reinventing the wheel.
Mm-hmm. And again, even there was some what do they call it? Grassroots efforts, especially by Janet and a number of the other people from various commissions, at the transfer station trying to recruit folks to fill out and get those. And I think we came up with somewhere between 188 and 200, which, you know, is about 5%, a little bit less than 5%. However, when I looked at Salem's response, theirs was like 6 to 7% or something like that, maybe 8%, 276 out of 4,500 people. So it's
Well, if you look at
not
the,
overwhelming.
if you look at the number of people that show up to vote on the budget, that's about what we get. The budget referendums are 200 to 300 people. Sometimes not even that.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
possible if we get all the boards and commissions involved that they could promote it as well, and we might get better.
Absolutely, absolutely, as opposed to just a function of the P and Z, which was the affordable housing plan, exactly.
We
It's-
went to the senior housing and the food bank and the transfer station to try and capture
Mhm.
people who weren't online or wouldn't have seen it.
Right. So,
Yeah, I think that notional timeline, starting with commissions, and makes sense, Jeff.
great. Any other comments on the zoning regs and updates?
Steve Lake is here.
Yes, sir.
I'm the landowner of the supermajority of the property in the IID zone. I assume
We really aren't entertaining questions at this point. If there's something you wish to submit, this is really the deliberations of the group itself. It's not an open hearing, so to speak.
my only comment was that in the past, the commission has told me that they were going to reach out to me. I assume that the town planner is going to reach out to me about this.
I had some discussions with Mike about that, and yeah, the likelihood is when it comes to looking at the area itself, we'll be reaching out to you, Mr. Rotalakis.
Okay.
Okay.
But there is going to be Mike's group, who are professional planners, are going to be involved in this process.
Mike's group is going to be involved from the get-go. Absolutely.
Okay, because I think that, again, and it's not a question, it's a comment. My comment is, if you do this to the general public, you're going to have, as Mr. Williams stated, oh, we wanted a park. And I'm not optimistic that's going to be productive. That's my comment. But I'll be watching.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
You got a hand up, Jeff, for someone.
Well, again, we don't normally take questions during the meeting portion, but yes, Jean, and could you state your name, please?
Hi, I'm Jean Tanner at 14 Amadon Drive.
Yes.
I just wanted to say that earlier in the process, October, November, you mentioned in your timeline that you wanted to send things off to other commissions to get the public involved. And I think the earlier you could encapsulate or give a summary of this issue and put it in the Ashford Citizen prior to coming out 2 or 3 months later with a public survey would be greatly appreciated by the citizen of Ashford. So all I'm asking is that as early as you can, raise this issue, bring the issue up to the citizens of Ashford so that they know it's on your radar screen and that it will eventually be on theirs. Thank you.
Thank you for the comment, Jean. And yes, I think we have until this Friday in order to make this month's or the November 1st citizen, which would be great. And we'll be drafting that email or letter to the commissions before that. So we'll have that out sometime back the 11th or the 12th. I've already started drafting something for them. So thank you for that. Okay, if we have no other comments from the commission on the I2D and the moratorium issue. Okay, we go to the zoning officer's report. And to that end, we don't have a zoning officer for a report today, so I would like to substitute that with a couple of things. One, I want to offer a public thank you, and both of them are not here. Catherine Sampson and John Calarese. Neither of them will be seeking election to the planning and zoning for the November 7th election period. I want to thank them for their service. And also, at this point, let's see here. Give me a second to, again, I wish I was as facile as Mike was on these things. And I would also, okay, come on. Oh, that's not it. I gotta go into here. I'd also like to thank a long-standing member of this commission who is also not seeking re-election. And I'd like to do this by sharing, again, sharing my screen and offering up this proclamation from the Board of Selectmen. The certificate of appreciation presented to Alex Hastillo in recognition of the 39 years he dedicated to the Ashford Planning and Zoning Commission, braving rain, snow, late evenings, and countless hearings in support of the commission's charge. We present you with this token of our gratitude on behalf of Ashford's Board of Selectmen and Ashford's voters who made it possible for us to benefit from your experience and knowledge. We thank you for the many initiatives you supported to ensure the healthy growth of this town. It's dated Tuesday, October 10th, and signed by William Folletti, the first selectman, Roger Phillips, and Catherine Silversmith, the second selectmen of the town. So Alex, thank you very much. I'll drop this off on your doorstep one of these days, along with that gold key and the key to the new silver. No, I'm just kidding. But again, thank you for all your efforts. Would have been nice for you to try and go for 40, but hey, 39 is not bad. It gives everybody else something to shoot for. So keep that in mind. All the other members, he set the bar kind of high. But again, Alex, thank you for your years of service, your consult with me and helping me in my time here. And again, your input on the many important issues that the Planning and Zoning Commission deals with for the town of Ashford.
You're welcome.
I'd like to say, even though I've only been on for 6 years, that I can't imagine the commission without Alex. So we're going to miss you. And Alex, Alex was endorsed by both parties last time. And he's done he's an excellent person, done an excellent job for us. And we're going to miss you.
And anyone else for a comment, a eulogy, anything?
If for what it's worth, I had made the proposal to the Republicans that we endorse Alex the last election.
Oh, good for you.
Alex, thank you very much for everything you've done. Really appreciate your presence here.
I just want to thank everybody. It's been an adventure.
Jerry, you're muted. Jerry, you're muted.
There. Thank you very much, Alex, for all you've done. And I don't know what it's going to be like without you. We'll miss you a lot. Thank you.
Jeff, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I'm just wondering who are we going to blame for all our problems after Alex leaves?
Well, all the easier to blame him. He can't say anything then.
Okay, got it.
All right, very good. Again, thank you all. And do I have a motion to adjourn?
You got it.
Jerry's motion seconded.
I'll second, Janet.
Janet seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Valerie, thank you. I'll have Mike get a hold of you regarding the motion.
You know what, tomorrow morning I have to go to near Boston because I'm flying to Minnesota for 4 days, so I could leave the motion blank and then you could just fill it in.
That's
Because
fine.
I really have to leave my house. I'll write it up tonight,
Okay,
but usually they don't get back. I can't listen to the recording until almost noontime the next day. So I'll
Good.
write it up tonight and then maybe just leave it blank for the motion that you could
Okay.
fill in.
and then we'll edit it. Okay, that's
Okay.
fine. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And have a nice trip. Travel safely,
you.
please.
Thank you.
Very good, everyone. Thank you very much.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thanks.